All right, hello and welcome everyone. We've got another map script here. I'm fortunate enough to find folks that are interested in talking about Age of Empires maps. It may not be that case if we didn't have a really cool $4,000 map scripting contest going on right now. But maybe we can leverage this momentum and keep people talking about these maps and keep people's imaginations running wild. I am joined by Toa Toa. He is a new map scripter. This is his first map ever that he's ever made, and he's in voice, so he can correct me if I say anything wrong. But I want to begin. We're sort of looking over his creation here, and I want to begin with Toa Toa telling us a little bit about this map, what he's looking to do, and what the players should know. And then we'll get into any questions that he might have about features that he wanted to make possible in the map but couldn't quite, and we'll see if we can help him with that. And then after we get it how he wants it, we'll do some playtesting on it. So welcome, Toa Toa.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So yeah, this map, like I said, it's my first map, and so I was working, wanted to do something. It doesn't turn out quite as what I started out to make, and that's just because I was still learning how to do stuff. Um, so as you can see, there is a big walled-in area in the middle, and that was supposed to be like a mining camp that got destroyed by these wolves here. Um, So interesting things about the map. So I decided that just to make it a little bit funner, then all if you can tell, then you just have these big rocks in that big middle area, and those are all. If you click on them, that then in game you'll be able to tell that if they're gold or stone. It doesn't show when you're in the scenario like this. But then your villagers will actually, so they just look different, but they act the same as any other gold or stone pile. Once your villagers will start mining it, then at one point it will turn into gold. And so I thought that was a cool, and so I went and I did that with all of the extra golds and starting gold and stones on the map. And as well as threw in some extra rocks that are just rocks to throw players off. The other thing about that is if you look at your mini map, then none of the gold or stone actually shows up on the mini map
Yeah.
until like someone starts to mine it, and then once they break the rock. Other than that, I don't really, like I said, I was planning on doing something else, but as I was learning, this was just kind of easier as opposed to doing more complex ideas. So this is just kind of what I settled with as common ground.
Okay. Now, this terrain in the middle, it appears to be a different kind of terrain, DLC rock terrain. Can you tell us a little bit about
Yes.
that and what the significance of that means?
Okay, so the deal, so right, so here in the middle, then I made it rock, so you can't build on it. Because I was looking at this map and I was like, man, this looks kind of similar to like a gold rush or a golden pit type of map. And I was like, well, how do you like? Is this map? It's sort of flat here in the middle, and so if one of the players was able to put a castle up here, then it would pretty much deny all of it. And so I wanted to work around that, but I didn't know how to change the terrain to do that. So I said, hey, what if I put so you couldn't build anything here? And I learned that you could make it so only mining camps are able to be built inside those walls. So you can't place towers or TCs or anything in there. So you'd have to place everything on the outside here just to kind of prevent, uh, you know, people from locking it down so much that you can't
Hmm.
take it, or at least fight with your army or to kill, raid or anything like that.
I really like maps that tell a story here, so it's clear that the wolves have done a number on this mining village here. Maybe they felt that their forest was being desecrated by this strip mine in the middle of the map. But yeah, we're showing in the scenario editor, it looks like you can put these mining camps down, but you couldn't build a market, you wouldn't be able to build a mill, you can't build anything but mining camps there. So you can't build a castle or a town center or towers here to deny your opponent these resources. You have to use military units to do so. However,
I mean,
you can build mining camps so you can still take the resources. Otherwise, that would be very unwieldy if the villagers had to walk all that distance to mine from these mines.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you can control parts of it by placing towers or castles or stuff on the outside of it,
Hmm.
like around it. But I mean it's kind of hard to put a forward castle on one side and a forward castle on the other side at the same time to deny all of it. So they'll always have at least part of it there.
Yeah, it's a big commitment, and more likely if both players went for castles, you'd end up with a player that has like one part of the mine secured by a castle, and another player that has another part of the mine secured by a castle. So let me
Hmm.
ask you this: why is this? I'm just trying to think. Maybe there's a good reason. Is the box of Gaia walls around this? What function does it serve if you have a player controlled gate, right? So the players could at the start of
Correct.
the game they could walk in there at any time they wanted to. But you also have a little box of Gaia walls here. Is this to sort of be make it more predictable where the players will enter the mining area?
Yes, and like I said, this was kind of a remnant, like a changed idea. Originally, then this middle center area was going to be somewhat larger and more of like a ghost town type of thing. And then each player would have a couple gates. But I also put this because um, the, if you wanted to, then one player could technically like run across, like run all the way across, and then place two mining camps, and then block the other person out from the middle
Hmm.
by building around their wall.
Interesting.
Um, and that's why I also included if so each player their starting resources, you start with three piles of gold and three piles of stone. And then there's only extra gold found around on the map. The only extra stone is inside the center here.
Okay. So three tiles of gold that are player assigned, and then no player assigns stone, right?
No, the players each have three tiles of stone and three tiles of gold.
Okay. All right. It's just hard for me to tell because of the rocks. Which
Which was
one's
kind of the
which?
idea. So the stone and the gold for the players actually spawn right next to each other,
Ah,
like
okay.
as one clump.
They're similar. They're similar rocks. Okay.
Yes, and the same goes for the center. Each of those piles there, I believe, is four pieces of gold and three pieces of stone.
And you have to break into the rocks really to see what they hold. Because
Yep.
if you were just looking at this map in the scenario editor, you wouldn't know. And even after you test it, maybe it could be different, right? Which ones are which. So to
And
really keep the
so
players on their toes.
correct. And the other thing, like I said, is it doesn't show up on the mini map. And if these rocks aren't in your line of sight, and I'll have to test this again, but I don't think you can select them via like fog of war to see what they are.
Okay.
Like you have to have a unit next to them, being able to see them to click on it to see what it is. And so there are some decor rocks around the map that are just plain rocks that you can't mine anything from. And so if you like looked out and you're like weren't just sent some villagers out there and to like build a mining camp next to it, you might, end up with something that's not actually gold.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else that you're going for on this map? Did you consider walk me through the decision process of the elevation of this town. I note that this town seems to be at the same elevation as the players. There aren't many hills on the map, although there are some. Have you finished working on the hills? What are your plans for the hills? What
Um,
do you think about the idea of having the mining town at a different elevation from the rest of the map? Tell me about that.
so I didn't really think that much about it. I thought about, um putting like a big hill in the middle there where the mining camp is, and then or maybe putting like sort of like a valley, so like this is like so it's super hilly around the map, and then like this is the like little flat area where they set up camp because it was more accessible or something like that. Um, there wasn't a whole ton of thought put into elevation. I was still figuring out how to do it and how to, put like how to get certain amounts of elevation on there. I do believe I put it somewhat random, so there can be more or less depending on which generation you have.
Hmm. And I also like the fact that the biomes are random too. So it looks like in this case you've got some snowy leaves though in the desert, and I think you may have been asking about that question too.
Right. I think there
How do
might
I?
be a slight error in my codes with how I programmed it to change all the terrain to match each other.
Okay. So this being your first map, you may have leveraged an existing code. Probably used a lot of things maybe without necessarily understanding how it works at first. But that's a good way to start, and it's a great way to
Hmm.
learn.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I took parts of code or I broke it down and like deleted stuff and added stuff just to see what changed and how to do stuff. So it is somewhat of a Frankenstein, but most of it is original, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So do a couple more generations. We can see that there's a rainforest version too, which I think is pretty cool. It's probably my favorite generation. You might actually are these standard wolves or are these special like rabid wolves or dire wolves?
These should just be standard wolves.
Okay.
Because originally I was thinking maybe I could turn it into like, this town had a werewolf infestation type of thing. So, and that's why it's destroyed. If you do look around, there are skeletons inside there. If you
Oh yeah, I see
should,
them. The wolves they had quite a feast.
yeah, some of the generations they're a little bit harder to see. So,
Oh, fair enough. All right, let's see if we can bring up the code and help you get everything you're looking for on this.
okay.
So you said you were looking for straggler trees, which I can help you with. So we've got 10 different, it looks like we've got 10 different biomes here that are possible, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that part was part of. I think I took that from Coastal, or maybe it was Arabia, where it will just choose randomly.
Terrain type layer A.
I think the error in my code is on line 199.
All right, let's take a look.
I think it's just
Changing.
how. Yeah, I think it's just how it changes from all the terrains into the base terrain.
Hmm. Create terrain layer A, base terrain. So you've got layer B and then you have placeholder A and B. I'm not really sure what
Correct.
you
Okay, so
land percent what hold on a second. We're in the terrain generation section, right?
yes.
Oh, okay. So you haven't specified a number of clumps.
Okay, so let me walk you through my code here just to explain what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I set this up. So in this map, then you basically have 3 or 4 lands. You have center land, which let's see, if you go up to, let me find it,
So
mining town.
the center land is the area that the DLC rock is on, where all of
Yes.
your minerals are and your wolves and such. And then you have 2 lands, one for each player. And then what's the fourth?
Where the wall's at. Technically, there's 2 in the middle. There's that big square, and then there's a square that's 1 tile.
Ah, okay. So
Or
I
maybe that's just 1 land, and then it's 2 terrains. I think that's what it is.
okay, that would make more sense. I would imagine you would put this down as a single land, and then you would do spacing to other terrain types of 1, and then you put your rock down. So your center land is
Yeah,
probably whatever's
yeah, no,
underneath.
that's correct. So you have the player land, and so if you go down back to that 199 and you just extend that note to take out the terrain, changing
Hmm.
everything. So from 199 to 215, if you just take all that out and then generate it, then you can see, or it should.
All right, one sec. Let's go down to 199. Okay, so you want me to comment this section out, where we're
Yeah, from
changing all the.
199 to 215.
All right, we'll save it, and then we'll hit generate again. We'll see what you're talking about.
And then if you look at the players, you should be able to see more about where the player area is.
Yep, I can see these distinct dry grass blended with some dirt or something like that. And you've got this ring of snowy grass, or snowy
Right.
leaves here. And this is where the
So each
forests are
player,
placed.
so you have your player land, which is that square around the TC, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have the change in terrain there is where their forests will spawn.
Yep.
They'll have three clumps in that forest.
Yes, I believe that Crazini uses this method to make sure that each player gets the same number of forests.
Correct. That's actually where I picked it up. I watched a video where someone was reviewing um his Arabia style, and so this is what I found what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed to work, and so that's what I went with.
Right. I don't. I do something very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar concept. So let me ask you something else. It looks like you've got direct placement here.
Yes.
Why direct placement?
Okay, so that goes back to the this is my first map type of thing. So the reason I have direct placement because as far as those gates are for the middle part,
Mm-hmm.
then I could only figure out how to place like I couldn't because like for example, if player red spawned up on the north side instead of on the right side there.
Yeah, like if red were up here in this northern corner instead of on the
Right.
right.
Then
Okay.
the gate would move over closest to that part of the wall, but it wouldn't change orientation with the wall.
So you mean that this gate would be, let me see if I can try to recreate what would be happening. So the gate would look something like uh, this, except a different color. So the gate would come up here if the player were in the top corner,
No, so take that and then put it like next to that wolf on the other side.
right
So
here.
if you go back there, like it would stick out, it would protrude out from the wall.
Oh, the gate would be doing
It would be
something like
perpendicular.
this.
Yeah. And so I could,
Okay.
like I said, I'm still learning, so I wasn't able to figure out how to tell it. Like if player one is over here, then place it, up and down. If it is over here, play it left and horizontally.
Okay. Would you would you like to learn?
Sure. Yeah, no, that'd
Okay.
be fine.
Um, so then what we'll do is number one, I'm assuming that you're familiar with create player lands, right? Create
Yes.
player lands is the fundamental. It's probably the first thing that you tried. And then and then you had players spawning in different locations, and then it was giving you funky gate spawns, and you were like, no, I don't want this. And so you were forced to set the players in a single spot, if I
So
interpret correctly. So we'll help you with that. We can get your
yeah, yes
gates
and
to
no. So the
behave.
players aren't actually set in a particular spot. They are still somewhat random within um basically if you extend that middle square out to the wall, then they have a big area there that their TC can spawn.
Okay. So
So it's still somewhat random, but not circular random.
I see. Yeah, so you don't have an exact position selected. So the players will have random positioning within the borders that you specified, presumably, which is actually better than stating a position directly. Um, okay, so it's not exactly set, but maybe you could use some more randomness. Um,
Correct.
so we'll see what we can do here. So we've got two. Now, what's this placeholder B? This create land position one wood lines left. Is this? Oh, that
So
doesn't look like.
in order to make sure I didn't watch the full video about how Cruzini did it, and so I made a single terrain for each side of the map. Because if you look at my starting positions, then I made it that So either side, like blue could be on one side or the other side, depending on how you started. Like it randomized which player started on which side.
Okay.
That assigned to at team -10 will randomize which team starts on that.
Okay.
And so I made separate forest placements for each side that are separate from the players themselves.
All right. So we'll comment this out. I think that we can replace a lot of this with create player lands. So we'll, uh-oh. It doesn't want to be commented out. It's just whatever it's called. So let's open a new file, new text file here, and we'll cut this and we'll paste that in that new text file. And then we'll try create player lands, and we'll try to recreate the gate thing, and then I think I can help you with the gate thing.
Okay.
So we'll paste these over here. We don't need to save that. All right, create player lands. And I think I should have a pretty good example, because I was actually just working on something like this. Here we go. We'll get rid of the land ID, the zone, the other zone avoidance will comment out. We might need that later. All right, we'll hit save. So the terrain type is just grass for now. I guess I could call it DLC black so it's easier to see. All right, we'll save that, and then we'll try generating it here. Okay, so these gates appear to be well behaved.
Yeah, no, they'll work as long as the player starts on the side of the map.
Oh shoot, I'm generating. I need to back up and go to the new version that I saved. Yeah.
Yep.
No wonder it's working. We're not testing out the one that I messed up yet. All right. So let's see where we got. The advantage of this too is that it'll automatically scale with the number of players. Because right now, if you tested what you had done in more than 2 players, you wouldn't have a player land created for more than the first 2 players.
Correct.
So, all right, so we got DLC black, and that's all the way out here, and then, uh-oh. It looks like somebody tried to spawn here, but they got overwhelmed by another land. So we might need to might need to modify some parameters for that. And that's okay. So circle radius we'll set to maybe 30 to push it out. Land percent 0, and again base size is 4. So we're just gonna kind of see where this.
If you want to set the other zone avoidance distance, you can avoid zone 5. That is the zone that makes the middle up.
Ah, okay. Now, how far? It looks like it's going to work now. How far do you want, based on this radius that I've selected? How far do you want these players from? Looks like it's still not far enough. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get this in to get it to respect that a little bit better, like you said. So what? Other zone avoidance distance of like 10?
I believe. Let me check what I have here, because I have. I've made it so the zones. Each player has an area actor, and then the middle has an area actor, and they're supposed to affect each other so that you don't have starting your resources aren't too forward. Let me see.
Now, are you using place on specific land ID?
For a couple of the things, I think not all of it. I think the only thing that is on place ID is like maybe the wolves and the skeletons.
Cesar says, let's go, Tech. We'll see about that. Okay, this is looking a little bit better. I replaced the borders that you had on the centralized land with an exact position at 50-50 and kept the base size the same. So this land is now being placed as a square exactly on
Gotcha.
50-50. Now, this gate is still misbehaving, which is unfortunate.
And
But
so
we can
also,
fix
I don't
that.
know if this is something that we can look at too. Originally, then players were supposed to spawn with 2 gates.
Oh, yeah, we could do
And
that.
so, and so I could get the 2 gates to spawn properly, but then because I had to set up the temp min distance thing, that it would also push the walls around, and so the walls would have big gaps by the gates.
Okay. Yeah, I think that we can do that here. Now, I've got the players spawning pretty close together on this side. I think maybe we need to add a line to this code to keep the players from spawning too close together. So other zone avoidance distance is 10 for these created player lands. Let me check Zetnus's handbook here to see how I can get the players to be reasonably far apart.
Preferably to be, opposite sides,
Yeah.
or at least corner-wise,
Oh,
like.
of course. I forgot to change from direct placement to random placement.
Oh.
Well, that would do it then. Okay, so now the players should spawn in that circular pattern. And I think we can even put like set circular placement or something like that. Or maybe circle radius is the argument that we want. But this is looking a lot better. Let's do a few more generations to see if we get anything misbehaving. But I don't think so. Okay.
So
So
looking at these generations, I think they're slightly too close to it still.
to
The,
the mine in the
center,
center.
yeah.
All right, no problem. We'll adjust that. We'll make this like maybe 30, 34. See if we can edge it out a little bit. Yeah, you're the expert. So how about this? Is this too close still?
Maybe
I don't know
looks
why,
like.
but it seems like maybe oh, you know what it is? I bet this person is closer because they're closer to the corner. That could be it. The appearance of being closer. So I don't know how much I guess they are slightly closer. So we could push them out a little bit more. Get them to be a little bit closer to what you
I
have.
think probably like a radius of like 40 would probably be about what
Okay.
I think that's what I was basing off my positions from last time.
All right.
Like the original.
We put 40 in and see how that works for you. So we'll do some generations.
Yeah, those are about the right distance away, it looks like.
Okay. All right, so then in that case, we could do something. You got a lot of different terrains in here, and there's a lot of nice work. I don't necessarily want to mess that up too much. We could work on the forests a little bit, but probably the next thing are the gates, right? So let us check on the gates. So in order for this create player lands to work, we have to get the gates to be normal and like respectful and such. So let's see, what is this terrain type here? What is this terrain generally called?
The
Do you
one
know?
the gates are placed
Yeah,
on.
there's like you've got a wall and then you've got a one tile of a terrain that's a different type other than the wall. What is that terrain in this jargon here? Is that
Let me look.
it's
Hang
probably
on.
this layer B right here.
That should be layer C actually.
Layer C.
The walls and the gates are placed on the same thing, and they're placed on layer C.
Okay. So let's go into objects then. You're creating Mining Town Point. What is Mining Town Point?
Okay, so
647. Oh, it's an invisible object. All right.
yes, those are for the actor areas to control where the gold and stuff spawn.
Okay. So a lot of off-grid placeholders here. Actually, they're all off-grid placeholders. Okay.
Yes.
So let's see where you're doing the gates. Okay, terrain to place on layer C. So, all right. What if we created an object? Create object tree TD, and we set Gaia object only, and number of objects a lot, and we don't need find closest. And let's see if we can get those trees to spawn on layer C. Now, I think what will happen is that these trees will just block the spawn of that wall entirely. So we'll need to control them with actor areas. Yep. All right, so there are the trees. And I can't tell if this tile is a transition tile or what the deal with that is.
I believe it's a transition tile. I don't believe it's a full tile.
Okay.
It's like a beach, if you would.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these trees to block the gate so that the gate can only spawn in one particular orientation. And so where do you have, here we go. So you're creating terrain, layer C, and we're going to have space and other terrain types be 2 now. So we have 2 rows of trees. Okay, it looks like the trees are still being placed at this minimum distance actually, which is fine. So now if we were to place the gates, what would happen? The gates should try to player gate. All right, it still isn't placing them. And the gates aren't bound by any particular actor area, right? Stonewall, number of
No,
objects.
they're only instructed to spawn closest to the player on terrain type C.
Okay, which is the same terrain as these trees. And yet the gates are not here. And I'm wondering why that is, because there is a legal area for the gates to spawn. So if we went in and tried to place the gate, we could indeed spawn the gate here. The idea is basically to place these gates on this specific terrain type, and then use the trees to block them from rotating like this. And then afterward, you can actually just kill the trees. You can set the HP of this specific type of tree equal to 0, so it's not part of the game.
Okay.
So
if it matters, then all the sorry, let me think. The gates are they're not. I place them specifically as a horizontal gate. They're not. If you look at create object player gate, then that's actually defined at the top of the script there as like the horizontal gate.
Okay. I think we want generic gate here. I don't know how much it's going to matter though, because there should still be a legal spot for a horizontal gate to spawn on here. That's closest, that's not intersecting with these trees, that's still on this DLC Dirt 4 terrain. Okay. So I guess if we look at the definition for these trees, there's nothing that requires these trees to only spawn 1 row thick, even though that's what they seem to be doing. So let's decrease the spacing to other terrain types, or increase it to 3, just to get a more pronounced effect. Layer C. Oh, wait a second. No, that's the wrong one. I think maybe I need to change this one to 2. So we're creating the DLC rock from on top of the layer C. So maybe I just attacked the wrong one. Alright, let's see if we can get those 2 trees thick now. Aha! There we go. Okay. So wait a second. I don't understand why you have the 2 different layerings there. But I'm not really an expert about it. I would have just placed the one land and then layered a single thing on top of it. Okay, so this is good. So this
Sorry,
means...
can you repeat that? Let's see. Yeah, I should just have, so I have the land there, and then I made that land into dirt 3 or layer C or whatever, and then I placed rock on top of that with a space of 1.
Okay.
Is that not what you're seeing?
No, I just am confused why we have 2 layering operations here. That's all.
Just to create the border. If there's a better way to do that, I may have just misinterpreted how. Is that part? So this originally was from another map I took. And this is just how they did it, where they had like the land and then had a terrain on it, and then they had another terrain that was just 1 tile smaller inside that terrain in order to create the wall.
Okay. Well, no worries. We got it figured out now. So now we're going to go over here to create actor area. Or we're going to create an actor area. Actually, maybe you're already creating an actor area. Do you have an actor area that's like directly in the center of this DLC rock? Or maybe you have an object that's directly in the center of this DLC rock?
Yes. So let's see.
Perfect.
Let's see. I believe.
Because that would be really helpful.
I'm looking at which one of these is. All right. So Mining Town Wolf should be the one that controls the walls.
Okay. So that is this one right here.
That's the one I used to place the walls last time.
Okay. So if we specify that the walls have to be within the actor area radius of actor area 3, so actor area to place in actor area 3, we should be able to get 1 row of trees. So let's do that. Where are our trees? Tree TD. Okay, here we go. So actor area to place in 3. So let's see if this, because we need something that makes it so that the trees are only placed at a thickness of 1. All right, slightly too large.
Okay. Yeah, you just have to reduce the size of that Mining Town Wolf actor area. I placed it larger just to incorporate any different changes that were made.
Actor area 3. So reduce that maybe to 17. Give that a try. And are these? No, these look like they're still... Let's just check. Yeah, they're still too thick. So let's go 15. That might be too much. We'll try. Okay, nope. 15 is valid. Let's do 12. Okay, so 12 is too small, and now the trees don't spawn properly. So we'll need to go back up, maybe 13. There should be this little sweet spot where there's this 1 tile that's going to work. So, interesting. So the trees are spawning here. Ah, I know. It's because the placeholder is not on grid. Placeholder is off grid. So Mining Town Wolf is up here, 647. So let's try setting it to 278. which is the on-grid placeholder. Let's see if we can get something a little bit more reliable. Not really. We should have enough objects, as far as I know. We've got one group. Are we placing these trees? We should be placing these trees before the gates. So let's try one more thing. Let's try tree TD. Number of groups. I find that number of groups tends to be more reliable than number of objects.
Okay.
No.
What happens if you extend the radius of that by one more?
Yeah, let's give it a try. I'm worried that it's going to make one of them a thickness of 2 and the other a thickness of 1, and it's going to be inconsistent. But we could definitely try. It'd be easy to try. So we want Mining Town Wolf. Here we go. Radius 14. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. It's too thick down here, and one thickness up here, and we should be able to do better than that, you know. Like
Right.
the scripting engine should be precise and smart enough with terrain manipulation to make that work. So I'll tell you what. If you don't mind, there's a lot of stuff going on here which is really confusing me. Do you mind if we bring up a fresh script and copy over some of the stuff that you've done into it and try to get this to work out well for you?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. So we're just gonna take this and
I know sometimes it's hard to follow like naming conventions of other people. So
So we're gonna take that and we're gonna basically just, we have a fresh script here, we're just gonna delete that. Delete this. Base terrain, we're just gonna use base terrain grass for now. And if these concepts work, you can copy them over to what you've done. And I hope
okay.
you will. So the cliffs are fine, we can leave the cliffs as is. I'm gonna get rid of the terrain generation. Get rid of these objects. So we do have your script, you know, saved somewhere else as a backup in case we need to go back and reference it. Okay. All right. So this will help. This will really help me understand everything that's going on. All right. So we're going to create land, and we're going to create this land from. Let's just, you know, keep it simple, and we're going to say dirt for now. And it'll have land %0, base size 16. It'll be in this exact position, and we'll get rid of the land ID for now. I just want to illustrate this concept of how this works. And I don't think we need this other zone avoidance distance for this land because that affects the land growth, which this isn't going to be growing, these player lands, because they are at land %0. Okay, so now we should get something very simple. We have the 2 player lands here in the DLC black, and we could actually make those a different type of dirt, just for my OCD purposes. So we're just gonna say like, dirt is. We're gonna maybe call this dirt 2. All right. So the black is where these dirt patches are where the players will appear, and this dirt 2 is where the mining town will spawn. So now let us come down here to terrain generation. Okay. Let me copy some basic arguments of previous terrain generations that I've done here. Okay. So the terrain is going to be DLC rock. And base terrain, we're going to convert this dirt 2 into DLC rock. We're going to convert 100% of the legal land into that. We don't need to specify a number of clumps, and we do need to specify a spacing to other terrain types of 2. So now when we run it, we'll have DLC rock spaced 2 away from this grass here. So actually, let's try 2, and if 2 doesn't work, we'll do 3. All right, so now we are going to place an object directly in the center of this DLC. Oh, you know what it could be? Are you familiar with the new, maybe what's happening is this wolf isn't getting placed exactly in the center of this DLC rock patch. So,
yeah, no, that I was thinking that might be it because I don't know. I believe when I placed it, it should be find closest to map center.
okay. Let's just use let's use create actor area for that object. Create actor area. And create actor area has a bunch of different arguments here. So we'll go down to create actor area.
Yeah, it was surprising that there wasn't. I think actor areas were like the hardest thing to research. There's not as much stuff on them, so I wasn't quite sure.
So we're going to set you up here for a tiny size map. So tile 6060. And the identifier is going to be the number for the actor area. So we'll set that radius equal to, or we're going to set that equal to 1, sorry. And this is going to be considered actor area 1 here in our example. And now we're going to create object. And actually, we could also set this radius equal to 17. So 6060 refers to the number of tiles. And on a tiny map size, it's 120 tiles by 120 tiles. So the actor area that we're creating is going to be 60 tiles down and 60 tiles across. So it should be exactly in the center of the map. Now, if you wanted to have this work for different map sizes, then you would need a conditional statement that scaled 6060 up, according to whatever half of the maximum edge length was.
Correct. Yeah, I think I saw the graph somewhere that explains all the different map sizes via tiles.
Very good. So the base size of this land here from dirt is 16. We're spacing it off by 2. So that means that we're left with 16. So we got 16 minus 2 is going to be 14. So, but this is actually our base size. I'm not sure if the base size is the radius, though. I guess we'll have to check it. But let's try making this actor area 14 just for now. And then we're going to create object, and this object is going to be, these were Gaia walls, right? And I think you had like fortified palisade or something.
Yeah, I think I specified. I was still working out if I wanted to use just regular palisade or fortified palisade, and I found fortified palisade first, so I went with that.
Okay, we'll see if this is a predefined object. So we'll do number of objects 9999 and set Gaia object only and set Gaia unconvertible. And we're going to want terrain to place on. And this is just to give us an idea of, are we at the right spot? Because you don't want to make the palisades first. Otherwise, they'll occupy the space that you want your gates to be on. So dirt 2. And then we're going to avoid actor area 1. Okay. So this create actor area is a wonderful tool. I highly recommend it. All right, let's see if we can get those palisades to spawn. Not quite. So we'll probably have to decrease that avoidance distance. What happens if we decrease this actor area to like 8 or something like that? Does it spawn yet? Okay, it is also possible that fortified palisade is not defined. So let's just do palisade walls. I think that's predefined. Oh,
yeah, when I put the fortified palisade walls in, I had to go ahead and define them via conscript.
Okay. Do you remember what the constant number for that was? It's actually probably in your script somewhere we
Yes,
could
it
find.
should be right here. It's
Perfect.
119.
All right. So fortified palisade 119.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll see if we can get this working for you. Hmm. Terrain to place on. What if we get rid of this avoidance here? Does it not like that actor area? So number of groups. Hmm. All right. Well, what am I missing here?
Let me.
Anything come to mind? Set Gaia object only, maybe? I should have that. Yep. Set Gaia unconvertible. Terrain to place on. Dirt 2.
Wait, why is it avoiding? You don't have it placed in any.
No, I want to fill this Dirt 2 area
Oh, just
with,
period.
yeah, just with palisades is kind of like a starting place. And then we'll go in and restrict it.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not loading then.
119, you said. All right, let's see if it'll do boar. I know that boar is a real thing.
I'm double checking the Google Doc for. Let's see, Palisade.
Wonderful, my game crashed. All right, let's restart. Let's try create objects. Maybe we have to, because it counts as a wall. I'm wondering if we have to create object town center first and set place.
Oh, so that's okay. So that's maybe why I went that way of predefining
Layer.
it as an object.
Okay, this shouldn't matter though, but we'll put that town center in there anyway because it'll help with the testing purposes.
Then also the predefined thing is it's DLC fortified palisade wall.
Ah, okay. So we'll do, all right, create object DLC fortified palisade wall. That's a lot of text. I will bring up that spreadsheet as well. DLC fortified palisade wall. Yep, there it is. Okay. So let's just see, without creating the actor areas or anything, we'll see if we can get this basic town center and basic box of walls to form. Okay. Look at that.
Hang on, it's still loading. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, interesting. Lots of town
This
centers.
is telling me that we don't have. But how can that be? So it's almost like the town center argument is not closed, but you and I can clearly see that there are brackets there. All right, let me get rid of cliff generation then. It's not hurting anything, but let me get rid of elevation because you've got that saved in a spot. We're just going to try to strip this down to the basics here. We've got some other lands. I'm going to get rid of these. And I'm going to get rid of enabled waves. So it's all going to be very, very basic. Wait a second. Where are the create player lands? Did those somehow get deleted? We can't place player objects without those. All right. Okay, so effect amount needs to be within player setup too. So we'll place that there. So we'll go back and get create player lands again. Guess that somehow got deleted here. And that needs to be in player setup, create player lands. Okay. We're gonna make it dirt. And circle radius, we said we wanted 40. Get rid of these other things here. And then we'll place the land of dirt. So we'll do create land. Land position 50-50. Base size was 18, I think, or 16. And terrain type should be dirt 2.
Wait, question.
Yeah.
Why are we creating a land at 50-50, but then the object is at 60-60?
Because land positions are done according to percentage of map length, of like the edge of the length. So
Okay.
The positions are actually more precise, and they are by tiles. So the good thing about this is that these lands being created at position 50-50 will always be in the center of the map regardless of what size it's generated on, so you don't have to scale it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I've stripped this down as much as I can strip it down. Let's get rid of connection generation at the end, and let's hope that it decides to cooperate this time. Nothing.
Is one of your notes not closed properly somewhere?
Let's back out of the scenario editor. Let us... I don't think so. Let's get rid of this note here. Let's get rid of this note here because I can always retype it. Oh, wait. These lands are being created in the player setup. They need to be in land generation. Okay. Okay. So the whole thing is DLC rock. So we need land percent of 0, I think, up here. Create land, terrain type dirt 2. Yeah, we haven't land percent 0. So we need to specify that. Otherwise, it's going to try to fill the whole map. Oh, okay. There we go. So we got the lands working properly again. These town centers seem to want to line the edge of the border of this land, though. So what are we doing wrong here?
I mean, that's also an interesting idea for a map, so put that in our back pocket.
Yeah. Not what we're looking for, though. objects generation. So what happens if I delete this and I just have create object town center? So the town centers are being created successfully now. So there was something about, hey, Jaw00 is here. There's something about that create this wall that it just does not like. All right, so let's see if we can place outposts. If we can place outposts, then we'll try changing the unit over here. So create object. Here it is. It's create object, not create object. It's always those little things that get you.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, good. Progress. This is progress. So now we're going to go back and create the actor area again. And we're gonna place these within a certain radius of that actor area, and we're gonna change these to tree TD as well. So let's come back. This is why I try not to bring up scripts on, because you know, presenter syndrome, right? You know, you're on TV and everybody's watching you. Okay, so we're gonna create object tree TD instead. So we're gonna cut this out, and we're gonna maybe paste this down here and comment that out. So we'll save that for later because it's so long I don't even want to retype it. All right, tree TD. Now let us create actor area, and we'll go 60, 61, and what was it? 14 or something. Let's make it we can actually just look short enough here. So base size is 18, and we're layering it by 2. So therefore it's going to be 16, so therefore everything within 17. Okay, and then we're going to specify actor area to place in. I believe that's what the argument is. All right. No. Still denied. Tree TD, number of groups. Let's check. We could also have the number wrong, but let me just check to make sure that the syntax is correct. Yes, okay, so it is actor area to place in. So if we increase the size of this actor area radius to something like 30, we should get all of the trees to spawn. They'll spawn in both rows. They don't. Maybe we don't need to specify set Gaia unconvertible. And let's get rid of this terrain to place on to see if that has any impact. No, we are still not spawning the tree TD properly. Number of groups.
Why is TD highlighted weird like that?
I don't know. Let me see if I can find another tree.
Try like tree F or something?
Yeah. Still nothing. Let's suppress this actor area to place in, and let's have it place on the terrain now. We'll go back to set Gaia object only. So tree F is indeed spawning correctly. There is another possibility, and that is that we can actually have the tree avoid the actor area as well. Maybe it's some kind of bug where if you are placing actor areas with create actor area, you can't place within them, you can only place outside of them. But I've never heard of this before, and I may have even used it differently. So let's go 16, And we're, instead of actor area to place in, we're going to say avoid actor area 1. Okay, it's still too thick. However, if we make this actor area very large, it should make it impossible to spawn any
Correct.
trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that's doing something. We know it's avoiding properly. So let's go to 17. Okay, here we go. Finally, we got the ring of trees that we wanted. And you actually may want to keep some of these trees. I don't know, later. Probably can't. But it's just kind of an educational sort of example. Now we're going to go and put the gates in. So,
Question. So when you do that this way and you build the trees and then delete them, is it possible to delete the stumps as well, or do those
yep,
disappear?
yep, you can, if you don't delete the stumps, then they will just dissipate like normal stumps. But you can set the dead object of this particular type of tree that if you're not, if you're not using it anywhere else on the map, which there are some pretty exotic trees that maybe you won't, or it doesn't even have to be a tree. It could be anything that's solid that could block a gate, right? And there may be even some placeholders that you can delete. So the tree is just kind of a visual example that I give, but I think
Right.
like 1613 would work just as well. And we're actually probably going to change this object from tree F to 1613 afterward, but that's just more
Okay.
visual for now. So we'll create your fortified palisade wall now, or we'll create your gate, and we're going to want number of groups. Yeah, number of groups. And we're going to have, each player has 2 or something like that. And it's,
Yeah, I was thinking just 2 spaced out about 10 squares.
okay, set space for every player. And terrain to place on is going to be dirt 2. We don't have to say anything about the actor area because their terrain type is restricted and they can't spawn where the trees are because the trees are blocking them. And then temp min distance group placement of 10.
Then would you place like a max distance from player to ensure they placed on the correct side of the box?
Oh, yes, good point. So find closest. So this will basically put them at the closest place that they can be to the player. So it'll make sure that players' gates aren't spawning on like the opposite side of the wall from them, which would be funny, but probably not what you're going for.
Right.
So where are the gates? So this tells me that gate is not defined. That's what that's telling me. I don't know why some of the trees are spawning either way. But let's look up the definition for gate.
I have that right here. That should be
487.
Yep, that's one I have.
All right, so let us see how many other types of. I mean, there's also one at 95 too. And there's one at 91. It's hard to tell what orientation they have. Might be able to do like one of each, like gate up and gate down, I think. So we could experiment with that. But for now, or did you want this fortified gate number 90 because it's I mean, what do
Just
you
a
want?
regular stone gate is what I was going
All
for.
right, then we'll try.
And the number I used for that, which is 490, but that
Okay,
is that's for in that one orientation. So I don't know if that's going to spawn differently.
I want the generic orientation if possible. So we'll try using 95. Show it on stream here real quick. Anybody is an expert on Age of Empires gate definitions, let me know in chat.
Yeah, no, that's part of the reason I was run into it. I didn't know how to make it. Because the generic gate, will that just change it to whatever it fits in?
I think so. I think there's at least 1 or 2 of them somewhere that will select the orientation of the gate based on what the parameters allow.
And they need to place that, like put a note into that document so you know which one it is.
All right. So we've got these weird I wonder if this gate is like 4 different objects gates, and it's placing it at the wrong orientation, but the tree is blocking it. So it's too stupid to figure anything else out. So I'll tell you what, let's just do it this hard way, shall we? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna define like gate up and gate down, and we're gonna give them the right numbers, and we're gonna give each player 1 of each. How does that sound?
That's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry that that is more complicated than it has to be. I would assume maybe there's some adapting gate out there, but perhaps not. All right,
If there
so
was an adapting gate, then you could use the original code pretty much to because it does pretty much the same thing we're trying to do, but if it adapted to it, since it's the tile it's supposed to place on is only one. Oh wait, no.
no,
Yeah,
because
you're
the
right.
center of the gate is not in. It's silly.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
gate down is 88, and gate up is going to be somewhere 64. So gate up is 64, gate down is 88. 64, and gate down is 88. So we'll copy this and paste this down here, and we're going to want to place gate up, and this is going to be gate down, and we no longer need to specify number of groups because you're going to have 1 of each. And okay, and then we're going to give this one an actor area. So we're going to say actor area 2. Actor area radius, you wanted like what, 10? And we're going to have this one avoid actor area 2, so it's avoiding its own actor area. And what this will do is this will make sure that your gate is not too close to your opponent's gate. So
Okay.
when each player gets one, both red and blue, they'll be 10 tiles apart from each other for these gate ups. And then we are going to actor area 3 and actor area radius, again 10, and then avoid actor area 2 and avoid actor area 3. So it avoids itself. Okay. So let's see if that will cut us a break here. And it appears that it will. Is this acceptable to you, being in the corner like this? Could be tricky
Hang
to
on a
keep it
second.
out of the corner. We can also increase this avoidance distance too, and I think that could help. You got a lot of space here.
Yeah, no, that should be fine. But yeah, maybe if we increased it and
Okay,
increased the
let's do like 20 and see how it looks. I'm sorry for the slow start today, but I do think we're making progress in getting you what you're looking for here.
yeah, no, this whole the tree trick is cool. I think I was reading this list of constants you can use to use. I think 201 is an invisible tree.
Okay, so looks like we're getting something like this. Important point though is that the gates are no longer like intersecting where they're not supposed to go. So Jaws00 is asking, can't you still tower hop with gates in the corner? The answer is no, because we are going to have solid walls here and here. It's not like we're going to... If this gate were set over 1, then yes, but there's going to be... Like, if this gate looked like building and gate... Gate up. If this gate were like this, and the stone wall were like this, then yes. But we're going to use every available space for this dirt 2 to put walls on, and that's going to include in this corner here. So you will not be able to tower hop that. Exactly, we're filling the corners. Okay, so now let's fill in the rest of dirt 2. So we're going to come over here and maybe just copy this one. And now we get to put in this DLC fortified wall. So number of groups, 909. We don't need to avoid any actor areas because all the dirt that's left over is where we want this wall to go. We are, however, going to set Gaia unconvertible. So we'll save that and then run it. All right. There you go. We can go up here to effect amount and we can destroy this tree if we want to, or we could even use a proper object here. I think it's 1601. Let's take a look at. We'll just check this real quick. Is the proper blocker? No. 1610 maybe.
You told me 1613.
1613. Terrain
That's
blocker.
what you...
Yes. Look at me. Can be used as an on-grid placeholder. So we're gonna come back here, and instead of tree F, we're gonna do on-grid temp. So for an on-grid placeholder that's temporary, and we'll do constant, and we'll do on-grid temp, and we'll do 1613. Just like that. So it should still block the walls. It's not as visual as a tree, but now that we've debugged stuff and we figured out that we got it working, feel comfortable adding invisible objects. All right. What do you think?
Hang on. I have to wait for it to load real fast.
Oh, that's right. I'm not streaming through Discord.
No, it's okay. I'm like right there. All right, there we go. Yeah. So
So
that looks fine. I mean, if we were able to somehow figure out so the gates didn't spawn in the corner like that, it'd be slightly better, but this way it's probably fine.
Oh, really? You don't want the gates spawning in the corners, you say? Well, maybe there's something that could be done about that, too. Let's think here. Anybody from chat have any ideas about keeping the gates from spawning in the corners? Because I agree, that would be nice.
I mean, the only way I could think of it now to do is to create an actor area in each one of the corners and then avoid it by like 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know where those actor areas are going to be based on the fact that your mining camp or your mining town is always going to be in the same place. So it could definitely be worth doing that. And because I always like to try to do stuff right instead of doing it twice. So
right.
I'm just thinking I'm trying to think if there's some way with terrains of some clever terrain method, but I don't think so. And I have a computer program that does all of these actor areas for me nowadays. It's quite nice. So I'm kind of out of my element here. But let's do that. So how many tiles do you think we are to the left or to the right here? I would say let's measure it in Fatorius. You ever do that? You ever use the Fatoria? The Fatoria is my ruler when it comes to random map scripting. So
Why is that?
Because I know that the Fatoria is 5x5.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Huh.
So
I don't play, Portuguese enough to know that. Oh.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 35 tiles across, and half of 35 is going to be 17. 17 and a half. So if we went plus or minus 18 from whatever we called the center of this, then we could get an actor area in each corner, which could be really good. Jaw00 uses the aqueduct. What? Why do you use the aqueduct? That's only one. You're telling me that you count all of these? Fatoria probably more useful. Yeah, it's easier to count Fatorias than it is to count aqueduct segments. Although the aqueduct
but
is
also the aqueduct looks a lot cooler than Fatoria. So.
That's true. That is true. Okay, so let's come back here and let's create some more actor areas. So we don't need to do this necessarily before these temporary things are placed. Let's come down here and we'll start creating those actor areas before the gates are created. So we got gate up, gate down, and oh, but the gates have their own actor areas associated with them. So this is why I have my tools, so I don't have to care about that. But anyway, so 1, 2, 3, and we're going to need 4. So these actor areas that we're creating are going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Can't
And
they all
so
just
then
be the same?
all the same number.
Yeah, because all the corners, we're avoiding all the
Um,
corners, so it doesn't really matter if they're the same or different, does it?
that's a good question. I don't know. I I don't know. Uh, there is another possibility though, which is we could create a big. Well, no, we can't do that. We can't do that because actor areas are not circular. Never mind. Forget I said anything about that.
I thought about that too, about making just a big circle in the middle and then cutting out the corners.
Exactly, but the actor area, as far as actor areas are concerned, they still use that box because they don't have a circular placement. They recently actually just added something for min distance and max distance to players that allows circular placement, but that is not the case with these. Okay, so what do we say? Plus or minus 17. So let's fix these numbers first, though. So actor area is going to be 6, and we're going to have it avoid its own actor area. So we're going to change 2s to 6s and 3s to 7s. So yeah, this is the only annoying part about actor areas, right? Is if you decide you want to add something right in the middle, then you got to update all your numbers after that. Some
Right.
people have this weird like base 10 they do where they basically allocate 10 possible actor areas to every section of their script, and so if they need to go plus or minus 3 or something like that from 4, they're still okay. So they might have actor areas related to a mill that are in the 50s, actor areas that are related to lumber camps are in the 60s, which is a good little trick. All right, so we're going to go minus 17, minus 17, so this is going to be 43, and this is going to be 43. And then we're going to go, what, minus 17 and plus 17, so, or 14, so this is going to be 70, no, 77. I said 17, right? Of course I said 17. All right, so now we're going to do 77 and 43, and then finally 77, 77. Okay, and this needs to be 43. And their radius, we were going to have them avoid by what, 10?
Probably closer to like 4 or 5, I
All
thought.
right, yeah, you're right, let's do 5. 10 is too much.
Yeah, that
Then
pretty much put the gates in the center every single time.
they won't be able to spawn either, possibly in some cases, because they're also avoiding each other. Okay, and so now we got avoid actor area 6, avoid actor area 5, or no, 2. So we need to have them avoid actor area. So we're going to have them avoid actor areas 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and I'm going to actually place those first just because I know that if you do it in order, it works. I don't want to risk it. Okay. So let's try generating it. Let's see how it works. How about that?
All right, I'm still waiting for it to show up.
Sure thing.
All right, let's see. Yeah, no, that looks perfect.
Okay, you could even, if I'll turn this code over to you when we're done. I don't expect
Okay.
you, I don't know what you're going to do, if you're going to gut your code and put it into what I'll send you, if you're going to gut what I send you and put it into your existing code, whatever's easiest for you. But you could totally expand with this, right? You could increase that distance a little bit. You could increase the number of gates if you want. You could, you could still mess with it and play with it, but hopefully this kind of illustrates this concept here.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what I was trying to do originally is so.
Okay.
No, that definitely helps me out.
Okay. So we got these player lands here. While we've got this configured in this manner, I want to show you the technique that I've used for getting the player forests here. And again, it may or may not be useful to you.
Okay.
So we're going to come up here. Oops, not this. Most of my scripting is actually done in GNU Octave. I actually have an Octave program which writes the script to the appropriate file. So I just put in the parameters that I want and it comes up with the script, because a lot of that scripting is tedious and repetitive. And I find that if I can put the parameters that I want and give it an overview, it'll actually make pretty nice stuff. So that's just something that I knew I was going to be making lots of scripts, so I decided to develop it. Okay, but this is the overview that we want. So we've got these objects put down. We've got the terrain put down, layering to spacing other terrain types of 2 here for this DLC rock converted to dirt 2. And so we know not to use dirt 2, otherwise we'll mess stuff up. Got the object generation figured out, at least the fundamentals of it figured out for where you're looking to be. So we've got, I want to take a crack at these player-controlled forests here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to increase the base size of these player lands that are on dirt originally. And about what would you say your maximum bound is for, like, the maximum distance a forest should be from the town center? Does that look about right to you? Like the other edge of the forest should be about where this is?
All right, 1 second.
Oh, right. Got the delay. So
yeah, no, that's about right. Maybe
a little bit more, a little bit less.
So let me think of what I wanted, my vision for the map was looking like, but I think a little bit less, because if you notice, then usually on like the Golden Rush type of maps, then it's usually just fast castle approach most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wanted to do is give them somewhat more of a defensive ability, but then less starting food, because there's no additional sheep. There's just a couple patches of deer.
Okay.
On the original map I made.
So we'll tweak it then, because what'll happen is I'll help get these trees down, and say we got like forest oak here, something large like this. So it may put down trees kind of like this. And I could tell that you have this square block. I think it would be useful to convert this to a circular block of terrain, because I think what was happening is some of your forests appeared to be further away because they were in the corner than other ones. So we're going to see if we can improve upon that. So we're going to convert dirt into grass now. So let's come down here and we're going to say create terrain grass, base terrain dirt, land percent 100, and instead of spacing other terrain types, we're going to say set avoid player start areas. Exactly, Jaw00. We can use terrain generation to make it circular, and we're going to set avoid player start areas by about the same size, the base size, so about like 16. Similar, not exactly the same, slightly less than the square lands that you've got there. And so now we'll do the other patch. So we need to do number of number of clumps 9320. And we are going to set scaling by size. He was doing this today. Jaw00, he knows. Okay, so there we go. We got that circular shape.
I'm going to step away for a glass of water real fast.
Okay. All right, then I will refill my water too, guys. I'll be right back. Give me just a minute.
All right, sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me? I'm back and ready to go when you are.
All right, I'm back. I stepped away for water. Cesar's all jealous. He's like, oh, hold on. I got to step away for the cat, too. I'm a fan of the cat, and he is begging to come inside. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. We had a quick water refill break, and then I got back to my desk, and the cat was meow, meow, meow. So I had to let him in too. He's a good kitty, though. We all love him. Okay, sounds like Toatoa's back.
Yep.
So that's good. All right, we were making these terrains around the player start areas a little bit more circular.
Yeah, also just a heads up, I only have a couple more minutes before I gotta take off to do something else too.
Oh,
so
no problem.
just a heads up. So
I think we helped you with the biggest parts of your project. Was you wanted to get these gates working. We gave you a more dynamic player start configuration, so it's a little harder to predict where your opponent is going to be. And we're about to set you up with some player forests, which I think you'll like.
Yeah. Yep.
So Cesar says this map lacks water too. Is water viable? So Cesar's picking on us because Cesar is in the Atacama Desert right now, like the real Atacama Desert, Toa Toa. He lives in Chile, and he is in the
Oh
mining
man.
industry. So I asked him if the Atacama map in Age of Empires looks anything like where he is, and he says no. But there is creative license.
So yeah. No, I was
Okay.
thinking about adding water. I just wasn't really sure where.
Ah, you don't have to add water.
I was actually thinking of another map idea where you start with like a river start. So you have like your TC on one side of the river, but then all your vills and stuff start on the other side of the river. And there's like no shallows or anything. And you don't start with a dock or anything. And so they're just separated. That was my other idea.
Okay. So now that we've got these more circular, let's try expanding these circles actually. Jaws00 says houseboat. I'm not really sure what that means.
Houseboat's a map where the TC is surrounded by water.
Oh, interesting.
Like, and so you start with the transport and you have to like transport your vills out and stuff.
All right, so let's increase this to 18. I think this is about the appropriate size. You have to transport every single vill you make. That sounds really bad. Sounds very micro intensive.
No, it is. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Okay, so we will create terrain, and we'll just do like DLC Dirt 4. Actually, let's repeat this command a few times. This grass creation command, telling it to avoid player start areas. We'll repeat this a few times to make sure that it really gets every single little patch. Okay. So we should have a little bit less amoeba-shaped player lands now. Let's check the same seed to make sure. No, not really. Well, we could change to a third terrain type here. I'm trying to remember how we did this last time. Well, either way, if you're only setting up for 2 players for now, what we can do, just to kind of get you started, is we can use it's a little bit more robust, it's less fickle, is we can create terrain, and we can go base terrain, dirt. We need the brackets. Up here. And then we'll do number of clumps 1. And then we'll create terrain DLC Dirt 4. and we don't need to, we'll just say land percent 100. So that one of these player lands is converted into dirt 4. So we can see we have regular dirt, and then we have dirt 4 over here. And then what we can do, and this sort of explains why it works, is we could create terrain now, forest, on dirt, number of clumps 3, number of tiles, let's say 160. And set avoid player start areas by like 13 or something like that. And we could do this for both players now. DLC Dirt 4. Just to kind of give you the idea. You may be able to do something with increasing the number of terrain types.
Right.
But okay, let's increase the number of seeds. This one has these forests actually pretty close. These forests might be large for the size of this radius, though. And the other problem is they're probably quite flat because we have the set avoid distance to be quite high. Maybe set this to 11. Oh, clumping factor, of course. So we want clumping factor around 30, I think. Clumping factor 30 or 40. So I don't know if maybe that's too close for you. Maybe that's too big.
Yeah, no, that no, that's probably pretty good. I mean, that's probably a little close, but I can, tweak the code as I get more time for it. So
I know that you've got to head out soon, but that's the idea. You were probably already doing that for the most part, but maybe you're having a conversation about it, and I wanted to try to make it circular for you so that it was very obvious whose forests, that players were getting the right number of forests, because you were doing it on a rectangle, so the ones in the corners were further away. So maybe this could be useful or helpful to you.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll have to try it, and like I said, if you send that code over, then I'll review it, and then I'll definitely use parts of it, everything we've talked about today. So
yeah, the main thing is to have a conversation with someone to understand exactly what they're looking for, and to try to recreate the basics of what they need to do, because ultimately the code is going to represent your work, and as it should. You're the expert about it. You're the one that spends the most time with it, the one that's thinking about it in the shower. I'm just here showing you what my experience has taught me about how to make certain things possible, because I believe that people shouldn't have to walk away from creativity because it's not possible in the game engine. So if there's something that I know that can help you do something that you want to do, then I'm more than happy to share that. But I'm not the ultimate authority on what's right or wrong to put in your code.
Yeah, no, and I totally appreciate you taking some time out here to help me and to review this with me. So definitely gotta review it and make some changes and see how things go.
So there is one more piece of advice that I'd like to give you, and that is that I really like the idea of mining the rocks, but I can tell you for competitions that I have scripted for in the past, they would not let me do the rocks because they're not visible on the minimap. So what you may consider instead is to have those rocks as eye candy, but to put obvious visible golds and stones around them. So that would be my advice. I think most people would say something like that, and the decision is ultimately yours. But if you don't want to lose points in the competition for map readability, I can tell you that if your map does win the contest, they will change those rocks. I would bet you $100 that if your map won, they'd change those rocks to regular stone and gold piles.
To regular boring stuff.
I know. I agree. I've like I said, I like keeping the players on their toes and stuff, but they they strike this very careful balance of trying to keep the pros interested and happy, and at the same time throwing them something different so that the rest of us can get the maximum possible entertainment value out of watching them. Because nobody wants to watch Arabia all day long, right? I mean, it's a good map and stuff, but show me something new.
Yep.
So
Yep. No, I agree.
if there's some way that you can incorporate the rocks with like the golden stone, the traditional readable golden stone piles, then I think that could be a winning combination for you. But having just the rocks, although they're a cool object, I don't know if it's going to be as well received. That's the only
Maybe
big advice.
I could do it so they have the rocks like that, and then just have like 1 or 2 tiles of actual gold spawn outside of it, and that way they can identify clumps as one or the other
Yep,
on the mini map and stuff.
yep, that could be something really good to think about, something very useful.
And that way I could still do like the decoys on the outside just have the regular rock spawn, which is like the 1 gold, so they think it's more gold, but it's not.
So it's something to think about. You play Age of Empires at a higher level than I do. I'm around mid 1300s, so you're no noob. So I'm not going to lecture you about what's competitive and what's not competitive. I can just tell you from my own personal experience, having scripted before. I wasn't allowed to use those rocks in the competition that I wanted to use them in. So
Okay.
just for your knowledge, just know that. And there was $150 at stake in that competition. So this one, there's going to be a lot more money at stake, so it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
All right, so I'll return this to you. You can make some modifications. You know, maybe you're able to use some of this. Maybe you're able to use most of it. And then when you're ready, send the script back to us, and we'll test it for you. Or we could talk about it more if you get stuck, whichever one you want.
Okay,
We're looking to
for sure.
make friends. I could have spent my time scripting and making a map for this contest, but I'm too cynical about that sort of thing. I'd rather make friends. So let us know
No,
if
yep.
we can do anything else for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'll definitely send it back over as I get it completed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Toa Toa.
Yep,
Pronouncing that
appreciate
right,
it.
aren't I? Toa Toa?
Yeah, yeah, I know that works.
All right. Have a great afternoon, and
Yep,
thanks for joining us.
can do. Thank you.
All right. So does anybody else have any maps that they want us to review, mess up, or test? Let me know. What time is it? We got time to do potentially one more. It's hard to believe that we've been at this for over an hour and a half, just chatting, talking about this map. But had some good stuff, and of course we always had presentation jitters, trying to to get Toa Toa set up with his gates the way he wanted them for his mining town. But I'm going to send this script back over to him so that he can either incorporate it into what he's doing or incorporate what he's doing into it. Jaw00 is almost done with the park. Jaw00, man. Hurry up! We're waiting. We want to play the park again. Maybe I'll get back into scripting Flotagono then while I'm waiting. I'm sure Cesar would not complain about that. But that would be a different topic. That would be a different topic indeed. All right, so let's see here. To help. So they'll send this back to Toa Toa. Let's see, let's find the right channel. You're basically done, just eye candy left? All right. Well, it doesn't look like anybody else has come this way. So we will end the stream here. And I will probably start up another stream pretty soon. And it'll have a different title. and we'll be working on Flotagano, because this stream is about helping other folks. So we'll do Flotagano, and we'll probably do it in about half an hour, I would say. I'll step away, take care of some things, and then we'll do Flotagano in 30 to 60 minutes, probably starting, and we'll do that for several hours, hopefully until it's all the way completed. And we're doing objects, and we've got the all Sunday evening to do it, so we'll come back in 30 to 60 minutes with Flotagano. Let me send this this script to Toa. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate your thoughts and your patience. Appreciate his patience. We had a lot of mishaps, but he was reasonable about it. It's like, I understand. Starting with create object, not object, and all kinds of other things. So hopefully this is able to help him. So we'll be back. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll bring up a new broadcast here in a few minutes for more work on Flotagano.